You stare at a massive deadline for weeks, doing nothing. Then, out of nowhere, you pull off a miracle in the final 12 hours. The standard diagnosis for this behavior is simple. Most call it lack of discipline, a chronic habit of procrastination, or a basic absence of ambition. But that judgment ignores a specific contradiction. If the problem were inherent laziness, the sudden surge of hyper-focused, high-intensity output in those final hours would be impossible. Psychology offers a different perspective on this timeline. This behavior often stems from how a specific type of mind evaluates energy, prioritizes information, and anticipates rewards. The repeated cycle points to an internal logic, a system that seems to wait for the pressure of a deadline to finally engage its primary focus. Task initiation is driven by chemistry. The brain relies on dopamine to sort incoming information and anticipate the specific reward of completing a project. This graph illustrates the challenge for brains with inconsistent dopamine signals, a common trait in those with ADHD. When a deadline sits weeks away, the reward feels too distant to process, and motivation flatlines. But as the timeline rapidly shrinks, the panic of a looming threat triggers a sharp spike in adrenaline, forcing a massive surge in dopamine. This late-stage adrenaline acts as a biological jumper cable. It forcefully engages the brain's executive function and reward system when baseline dopamine levels fail to initiate action. This indicates that the biological machinery is waiting for an immediate, high-stakes threat to flip the operational switch and allow the person to act. Beyond chemistry, there is a cognitive processing hurdle. Visualize your brain's prioritization system as a massive control panel governing your daily tasks. In an overload event, the system evaluates every task with equal urgency. As seen here, finishing a massive project carries the same visual weight as answering a text or remembering to drink water. The inability to sequence important now versus important later causes the entire sorting system to crash and lock up. That mechanical crash results in the physical and mental freeze you experience when staring at your desk, unable to take the first step. This involuntary freeze happens when the mental processor attempts to keep 50 urgent tabs open all at once, stalling the system before it can begin. There is another layer to this bottleneck: the immense energetic cost of perfectionistic thinking and the fear of an imperfect start. While the body looks inactive, the mind performs exhausting background computations, planning multiple steps ahead and predicting negative outcomes. This diagram shows how that mental simulation rapidly drains your cognitive battery. This processing functions as a defense mechanism. The brain demands perfect conditions to begin, making the prospect of taking an actual, imperfect action feel psychologically dangerous. Sustained thinking consumes very real cognitive energy. By the time physical action is required, the brain has often already burned through its reserves. The resulting inactivity is the consequence of invisible mental effort. The brain has worked itself to exhaustion before the first physical task ever begins. These combined factors reframe the outward appearance of laziness. It is an intense, silent battle of internal resource management. When dopamine is flatlined and energy is depleted, the brain shifts into an extreme conservation mode as a protective measure. Overcoming this wiring requires more than forcing motivation or applying stricter discipline, which often only increases the drain on your system. Bypassing the freeze response requires building micro-moments of momentum. You do this by identifying small tasks where energy and interest already exist, using that existing motion to slowly engage the rest of the system. This unique wiring requires its own set of operating instructions, recognizing the difference between a lack of will and a biological threshold. Let us know in the comments what triggers your own procrastination. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.